Kilesa Samuppada, Dependent Origination, number 13. Overview of the 9 links we have discussed. We put this overview so that we become more knowledgeable the interconnections of the links that we had discussed. Today we are going to discuss the connections between the craving, ignorance, life action, and karma formation, and also root causes of rebirth or samsara, and then how the 3 rounds based on dependent origination discourse. What is ignorance? Avijja, ignorance. Not knowing the full noble truth is ignorance. Not knowing the true nature of mind and matter is ignorance. This mind and matter is what we call self. So it is believing wrongly about the true nature of self from Buddhist perspective. Not knowing creates uncertainty in your understanding of self. Or right out believing in the viewpoint of eternal soul. This state is called state of delusion. Another word is illusion, delusion or illusion. In Pali, it is called moha. Moha is delusion, illusion. Ignorance is avijja. So this moha, what is this moha? Moha is one of the 3 mental defilements. Kilesa. 3 mental defilements. Kilesa. So ignorance, or you can call illusion or delusion, in Pali, avijja and moha, are the same in essence. They are synonyms. Different words is used under different context. Now we know this avijja, ignorance, is also known as moha, delusion or illusion, one and the same. So that is what avijja, if we have to present it in a different way, trying to connect with kilesa, mental defilements. Now, what is craving and grasping? Craving tanha, grasping upadana. But I will call it craving dash grasping. Craving grasping. as one. What is craving, grasping? Wanting and clinging to desirable things and beings and ideas. Whether you crave or you grasp on things, beings, or ideas. Ideas, a point of view. This state, craving, grasping, is also known in the Pali word is called lobha. They are one and the same. Lobha. In English translated as greed or attachment. So, this craving, grasping fall under the title of lobha, which we heard so many times. Wanting, desire, greed, obsession, those falls under lobha. Any degree of wanting, from the tiniest to the highest, is lobha. So, tanha, craving, and upadana, grasping, falls under that lobha. And also, this craving, grasping means wanting, displeasure and anger disappear, which arises when one desire is not met. When things doesn't come the way you want to, automatically you are dissatisfied, show displeasure or anger or even hatred. Wanting that kind of negative state, negativity to disappear, is craving, grasping. Wanting that anger, displeasure to disappear is craving, grasping. And this state, this mental state, wanting that anger, aversion, is called dosa. Dosa, anger. And how does the anger or negativity, we can get attached to it by wanting that displeasure and anger to disappear, wanting, craving, grasping. So, in this way, we get attached to anger and aversion. We thought we hate it, we don't want it, but still we want it. We got hooked into it because of the root desire to or wanting to make it disappear. That's how we get attached. So, lobha, greed, and dosa, anger. So, this lobha and dosa, what are they? They are the two of the three mental defilements, kilesa. When we say kilesa, it is lobha, dosa, and moha, greed, anger, and delusion. And what is craving, grasping? Craving, grasping is lobha and dosa, greed and anger. What is ignorance? Avijja. It is moha. delusion. And both lobha and dosa arises under the influence of craving, grasping. Because of the craving, grasping, lobha arises, dosa arises. Or vice versa, you can put it any way you like it. These are simply words, but we are actually discussing about the mental states. So now, with confidence we can say ignorance and craving, graspings are mental defilements, kilesa. Kilesa, mental defilements. What is it? Lobha, dosa and moha. Kilesa, mental defilement. What is it? Craving, grasping and ignorance. They are the same, just using different words. Now you come to understand more clearer what craving, what grasping and what ignorance is. From that you can also understand this continuation. Without ignorance, there is no craving and grasping. Okay? We crave for things, beings, and ideas. We grasp things, beings, and ideas because we don't know the true nature of mind and matter. Not knowing the true nature of mind and matter is ignorance. That's why without ignorance, without avijja, craving, grasping, tanha and upadana mental states cannot arise. Period. And also you can see the other way around. Whenever there's craving, when craving exists, there is always ignorance. If you see craving, you know behind it there's ignorance. Ignorance is the one who is pulling the string and make you crave, make you grasp. These two, okay, avijja and tanha, ignorance and craving, grasping, just like a pair of conjoined twin. A twin, but they are joined at the hip or at the head. They can't be separated. Just like that, ignorance and craving, grasping. Now let's go and see another word, karma formation. I'm not going to re-explain these because we have discussed these words, what it means in detail before. So, this karma formation, sankhara, is the conditioning factor of the past life. It's a conditioning factor, but it belongs to the past life. But that produced relinking consciousness of this life. Okay? There's a connection between the past life and the present life. Past life karma formation is the cause. Present life relinking consciousness, or just simply say consciousness, is the effect, cause and effect. That's how the past life and present life are connected. And we are ignorant about the true nature of this mind and matter, what we call self, for countless numbers of past life. You can't even figure out how many, but all those past life, we are ignorant about the real true nature of mind and matter. Because once you know it, you're enlightened and there's no more life of mind and matter. So, past lives ignorance, avijja, okay? The ignorance avijja in the past life is predominant, more predominant than craving to play as a key role for conditioning factor. Because we already said, when there is ignorance, there is craving. When there is craving, there is ignorance. But in the past life, ignorance is designated as the leader, the key role, the player. Ignorance leads and tanha, craving follows. So we designate karma formation, sankhara, we designate ignorance, avijja, as the conditioning factor. It plays as a key role rather than craving. So I'll repeat again. In the past life, ignorance, avijja, is predominant, more predominant than craving, and it plays as a key role, as a conditioning factor for the arising of karma formation, sankhara. Okay, sankhara arises. Why? Because of ignorance and craving. But in the past life, ignorance is the leader, craving is the follower. And also we know where there's ignorance, there's craving. That's why craving, grasping is the supporting role. Ignorance is the main or key role in the formation of karma in the past life. So that is on the karma formation, sankhara. So let's go to another one, what we call bhava. Bhava or karma bhava in English, life action. Life action is the conditioning factor in this life. Life action is designated as a conditioning factor in this life. And this bhava, karma bhava or life action will produce rebirth in the next life, in the future life. So craving, grasping is obvious and predominantly taking place moment to moment in this life. Craving and grasping is always there with you, with us in this life. It is obvious, it is noticeable, it is observable. So this craving, grasping plays as a key driving force for life action to arise in this present life. So the role reverse, ignorance play as a supporting role. Because in this life, this craving, grasping is predominant. In the past life, ignorance is the one that created the whole story. That's how each of them are designated, even though they arise always together. So, ignorance and craving grasping are responsible for the arising of karma. You can call it sankhara, karma formation. You can call it karma bhava, life action. Whatever you call. What is it? What is it? That is karma. So, based on this series of threads, we know ignorance and craving graspings are responsible for the arising or formation of karma. Again, let's see. Ignorance is responsible. Ignorance play the key role at the first link of dependent origination, which belongs to the past life. And craving grasping plays the key factor in the ninth link of dependent origination in this present life. So link 1 and link 9, how their connections are. And all these are what? About ignorance, about craving, about grasping, about karma formation, and about life action. They are connections, they are little networks, and who is playing the leading roles at what part, what zone of time. That should give a fair clarity of their operation. So, ignorance and craving grasping are responsible for the arising of karma. We already established it. Ignorance and craving grasping are responsible for the arising of karma. And at the same time, karma is responsible for the arising of rebirth. So, craving, grasping, and ignorance are the two root causes. For the endless cycle of rebirth. They are the two root causes for the endless cycle of rebirth, which we call samsara. Samsara, endless cycle of rebirth. Why is it happening? Because of avijja and tanha, ignorance and craving. And I'd like to extend that a little bit more. Endless cycle of rebirth, samsara, and another word is what? Suffering, dukkha. Why suffering, dukkha and samsara? Because what is suffering? Suffering is mind and matter. Mind and matter is suffering. What is mind and matter? Self, life, existence. And it all starts at rebirth. That's why cycle of rebirth, samsara, and suffering, dukkha, can be equated. We know now what craving, grasping, and ignorance. They are mental defilements, kilesa. They are mental defilement, kilesa. So, whenever we use the word rounds of rebirth, rounds of kilesa, kilesa vutta. What we really mean is we are referring to craving, grasping, and ignorance. Those three are called rounds of kilesa. Craving, grasping, and ignorance is rounds of kilesa, kilesa vutta. And we also know karma bhava, life action, and karma formation, sankhara. What are they? They are actually actions, or you can call it volitional activities. So, life actions and karma formations are actually actions and volitional activities. And what does actions and volitional activities known as? It is known as karma. Therefore, these two belongs to the rounds of karma, karma vutta. When we say karma vutta, it is referring to life action and karma formation. When we say rounds of kilesa, we are referring to ignorance, craving, and grasping. And let's go to the next one. Do you remember these five? Relinking consciousness, mind and matter, six sense bases, mental contact, and feeling. Five of them. They are number 3 to 7, independent origination. One is ignorance, 2 is karma formation, 3 is relinking consciousness, 4 mind and matter, 5 six sense bases, 6 mental contact, 7 feeling. Those are the position that they take. So these 5, number 3 to 7, belongs to the passive part of this present life. We have discussed that before. It belongs to the passive life of this present life. These 5, they don't only exist in this present life. It also have existed in many past lives, and it will also exist in future lives. So these 5 exist in all. Past life, whatever the present life is, and all the future lives, they always exist together. Of course, with some minor exception. I will explain it a little later. So, these five, they become the foundation for the kilesa to arise. They are the foundation. Without that foundation, kilesa cannot arise. So, the name, one name it's given to these five is called rounds of resultants. Vipaka, Buddha, rounds of resultant. When you hear the word rounds of resultant, Vipaka, Buddha, they are referring to this consciousness, mind and matter, six sense space, mental contact, and feeling. You have to know right on the spot exactly. Don't have to think. You don't need to think. That's the way one need to understand rounds of resultant. So there are three rounds. Rounds of mental defilements, rounds of karma, and rounds of resultant. And under each round, there's a certain mental factors are there. They are all from dependent origination. And we are discussing from 1 to 9. Everything is there. So that's how the three rounds and the factors of dependent originations are connected. I just said there's some exception. In most of the existence, these five do exist, past, present, and future. And what are these minor exceptions? To explain this minor exception, you need to know, in a general way, the Buddhist cosmology, 31 planes of existence. From the Buddhist point of view, there are 31 different planes of existence, of life. Simple one to understand will be animals is one plane, human is another plane, different plane. And the angels, another plane. Just to give you the understanding what different planes of existence is. There are 31 of them. And that 31 is divided into 3 zones. One zone is called sense realm. Sense realms mean, in those sense realms, all the beings that those sense realms, they have and they operate with 5 senses, physical 5 senses. Eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, and of course the mind, that's a 6th sense. 11 of them. 11th of them is, from bottom up is, the lowest one is called, for lack of a better word, hell realm. Second one is animals realm, which means animals, birds, insects, fish. And the third one is hungry ghost realm. They are beings which is always in a state of lack, not have enough. And the fourth one is called Asura, demonic realm. And some translate it as jealous beings realm. Those four realms, they have five senses, and they are also called the lower abode, which is not desirable to be reborn there. Lower realms, undesirable to be reborn there. And then the fifth one is human realm. Okay? Human realm is, the Buddhas said, it's a very good realm to be reborn because there's a good mixture between the suffering and pleasure. A good mixture. Only when you have a good mixture between suffering and pleasure, you can actually find your way out of these existence. The lower four is full of suffering. You don't have time to think about liberation. 1 to 4. 5 is the balance between suffering and pleasure. Buddha said it's good to contemplate about existence. And then 6 to 11 is called, let's call it angel realms, Deva realms. In those realms, that is, let's say, I'm just throwing a number, 99.9% is all pleasure. Because they have mostly pleasurable things in life, they don't contemplate about life. Let's see, even human being. You are lucky, you are good, you are healthy, everything comes your way, you have everything you want. Around that time, you don't really think about spirituality. You were just enjoying it. And suddenly, you go into a state of suffering for a sudden reason or condition. And then, oh God, you are fish out of the water. And then when you contemplate about these two, or you draw in this experience of pleasure and experience of pain, and then you start thinking about, contemplating about life. And that's how one starts walking on the path of spirituality. But regardless, let's go from 1 to 11. They operate their life with the senses, 5 physical senses and 1 mental sense, 11. And above that is 12 to 31. Altogether 20 is called Brahmaram. Brahmaram has 2 divisions. One is the fine material realm. Fine material realm. Their materials are so fine. Deva already have a fine material. We can't even see or touch. But Brahmas are even finer. Okay. So, fine material realm, or just say material realm, Rupa realm. And then the next zone is called Arupa realm. Arupa is non-material. They have no material. So those are divided between the two. And from the Buddhist point of view, these beings, they don't need to eat, they don't need to smell, they don't need to touch. Those because the practice of samatha, they abandon all these gross, what from their point of view gross. Eating is dukkha, smelling is dukkha, touching is dukkha. With that ideal practice, they don't need it. They live not on nutrition or food. They live on their sustenance is piti, rapture. Rapture is their food. rupture, sustain their life. They only have eyes and ears. And eyes and ears, they have it, is not for enjoyment. They have those eyes and ears so that they could see the Buddha and listen to the Buddha's Dhamma when he arises in the world. That's for that reason. So that is Brahma Rupa, fine material realm. And the other one is Arupa. Arupa is the mind-only beings. No body, no physicality, no rupa, only mind. Mind-only being. So, for that mind-only being, they don't have this 5 resultant. Okay, we say consciousness, mind and matter, 6 sense bases, mental contact, and feeling, vedana. So mind-only beings, they are only mind. So for that existence, these 5 are not there. And there's one more in the material realm of the Brahma. There's one realm, it's called material being only. In other words, their existence is there's no mind, it's only the body. Just from our perspective, let's say like a big rock statue. Of course it's not, but to understand. Why mind only? Why body only? Because that comes from the upadana, grasping on the idea. Most people, when they were in the human realm, they think, oh, this body is suffering, mind is peaceful. That idea, they grasp on it and they practice for that. So, when they accomplish that practice, they were reborn only the mind-only being because they do not like the body. That's how the mind-only being comes in. And another group of people, they grasp onto the idea, oh, this mind is always running, going around, thinking, and that gives me suffering. They have aversion towards the mind, consciousness. Without that mind, this body will be in bliss, so to speak. They grasp onto that idea, wrong idea, and they practice. When they accomplish their practice, they are reborn in the body-only being realm. Those 2 are the minor exception of the 31 planes. In those 2, there is no these 5 resultants. But other than that, every realms, if you are reborn, you have these 5 resultants. So that's a little bit of explanation on what it means by with a few minor exceptions. So this will give you a better understanding of the dependent origination from link 1 to 9, connection between ignorance, craving and grasping, and their connection with the karma formation and life action. And then how rebirth takes place, what are the root causes, and all these mental factors and how they are connected and designated to the 3 rounds of mental defilement, rounds of karma and rounds of resultant. May all of you have a clarity on the operational system of this dependent origination, and may you apply these together, bridging with your practice, and attain insight as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.